The governor wants to dip into the state reserves and use as much as $500 million to help pay to house and feed the influx of tens of thousands of migrants arriving in New York City every month. She's estimating the state is going to have to spend about $2.5 billion altogether in the coming year. She's hopeful that eventually the feds will pick up that cost and that New York won't be on the hook for that. But in the meantime, does New York have no choice but to help out New York City in this situation?
Well, I think we do have to help out New York City. I think it's, the issue, we don't have control over the issue. I think New York City, though, has made certain decisions that have welcomed the influx of migrants to the city, and it's affecting all New Yorkers. And they're being moved all around the state, and they're traveling throughout the state. It's a real issue. I think federally it needs to be stopped because we can't afford it. I mean, here in this budget, we're looking at appropriating $2.4 billion to address this issue. We don't really have a say in it, while our governor is looking at cutting the education budget through the foundation aid. That's just wrong, that our kids could suffer in their education, while at the same time we're offering things to people that are here that are not New Yorkers.
It is an election year. Will you be announcing your reelection, seeking a third term?
I will, absolutely soon.
And how have the first two terms been? How has the experience been?
It's been an incredible experience. I went, when I first won my election, I approached my new colleagues in the assembly as if, they're all New Yorkers, okay? We have different philosophies, political ideas. We're all coming from different parts of the state, and we have different issues. But at the end of the day, they're all New Yorkers. And it's our job to actually work together, find ways that we can find agreement that's good for all of the state. And that's the way I've approached it. It's truly an incredible honor to be in the assembly and sit there. And I've learned a lot. I've actually traveled to other regions in the state. My colleagues on both sides of the aisle, they're awesome people to work with, but I love visiting my colleagues in other parts of the state, whether it's Manhattan, the Bronx, Brooklyn, and learn about what they're experiencing, what their perspective is. And we all have the same goal. We all love being New Yorkers. And it's just been a very educational process to kind of get a glimpse of what they see, how they see life from where they're at in their district. My goal was to present to them that I have integrity, that I'm not going to be that guy that's, what you see is what you're going to get. And that I want to work with you as well as I really need you to work with me. But it really comes down to respect and understanding that everyone wants us to work together. It's okay to have different opinions and different views, different priorities, but let's work together and let's do great things. Let's all be focused on the same result. We can do it. And it's been a great experience. I have great friends in the majority that are Democrats. And there's awful lot of pressure that comes from the letter after your name when it really should be focused on, standing across or sitting across from each other and saying, hey, what can we do? What can we work on? How can we make things better, move the needle forward? And that's natural to me, and I've enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to another term doing it.
We did ask you about the governor's proposals. What about your biggest priorities for the session?
Well, of course, I have legislation that I've been working on diligently all my first three sessions, and even this summers, we're still working with colleagues, and really I have to work with the majority members to get my legislation to move forward and explain why it's needed. But I've actually discovered something that is going to consume a lot of my time, but it's something that deals with our purchasing policy that I don't think anybody's ever really thought about, because we all tend to work in our silos. New York State government is no different in the legislature. But I was at a hearing on the purchasing policy and looking at changes that we needed to address some of the issues that New York City is experiencing with some of their housing projects. And I heard from a not-for-profit group that told us how our purchasing policy is causing them to buy the lowest quality food that in turn is being put out for people that need food, people who are less fortunate. So right away, I thought about some of my experiences growing up. My father ran a mission in Glens Falls called the Open Door Mission. He started it, and he served meals. And I recall all the donations of food that we were receiving, the fresh food. But it's always, day old or week old bread, or it's bananas that are their age. And so right away, I saw the issue. This is low quality food. It flies in the face of where we're advocating for healthy children and healthy lifestyles, especially in our schools. So how can this be? We need to change this. And then specifically to my district, there's Silvamo, who is a paper making facility.
Yeah.
Finch Prine, they've
Yeah.
been there many, many years.
Yep.
Before Silvamo, it was International Paper,
Yeah.
a worldwide company.
Yep.
And I was disturbed to find out that we actually have paper. We use paper made in China in the New York State Assembly because of our purchasing policy. So
You have a
You have
number of paper mills in your district.
yeah, so you have to, think, well, this kind of flies in the face of our climate goals. We're going to ship paper from China to New York when we have 2 paper mills that are within my district within an hour and a half of the New York State Assembly. How can that be cheaper first? But then how can that be good for our environment if our purchasing policy forces us to buy paper from thousands and thousands of miles away where the paper is being produced by coal? So it really migrates into several areas of legislation. It's probably going to be a package of bills that's going to have to be produced and drafted to make this happen. But we really need to change that policy in a way that takes into account what we're doing to our environment, and not only that, but what the end result is of acquiring those bids. So I have been speaking with the chair of local governments who conducted that public hearing or that hearing, and he's very interested in that. So, but it's going to take a lot of work.
And for the food, are you hopeful that there's maybe something done so that you can get a higher quality food?
Yeah, in the short term, we need to make changes that right that situation, because we shouldn't be doing that. If we're going to provide food to fill the needs of people that are less fortunate or need a hand up, or they just need it for whatever reason, then we should be using high quality foods, the foods that everyone else in New York has access to, not the lowest quality.
I know a big issue for Lake George and for that region for a number of years now has been the impact road salt is having on the environment, on Lake George and other waterways in the Adirondacks, the groundwater, people's wells. Recommendations from a state task force are now being adopted by the state, by the DOT, by municipalities. Are these good steps? Are they necessary steps?
They are. I mean, the issue is that this governor did not include funding to accomplish those goals, which is very disappointing. So we're going to be pushing that there is funding appropriated in the one House bills being presented. I am hopeful that that was an oversight and not what is going to be the end result. This needs to be taken seriously, and we need to follow through with those recommendations. I've seen where the studies that have been done on Lake George, and it's a long time. We know about Mirror Lake, and the improvement in the water quality since they've made those changes on Main Street and some of the other projects. I mean, it's a success story, and that needs to happen also in the Lake George region.
Cell service still need to be expanded in some rural areas. Does your assembly district cover the part of Washington County where the tragedy was this past year?
It does. Cell coverage. I mean, the issue is, we've all migrated from phones, regular phones. We work and we communicate by our cell phones, and it's time to recognize that this is the technology. There's no more. I don't have a hard line in my home, and I haven't for some time. I don't know very many people that do. My office, obviously, I have hard lines, but for public safety, if we expect to attract the hundreds of thousands of visitors and the people that come here to the Adirondacks year after year, season after season, we need to provide for their public safety and also their ability to communicate. Because I've been in areas, I've traveled to areas where I didn't have any cell coverage, and in my position, that's a very tough place to be, to not be able to communicate. Even if I'm experiencing, a recreational trip or vacation, you just have to have it.
Some of your district is in the Adirondack Park. Is that part of the issue, APA tower height requirements?
It is. I think the tower height, reg needs to be looked at. It's been looked at. Actually, I'll go on record and say that we've looked at it enough, and it's time to be in the 21st century and stop with all the burdens in front of us.
The governor is proposing another $100 million for the Red Sea that gives out the DRI,
Yes.
$10 million grants. Lake George is one of the latest to receive that at the end of last year. Is that program a good program, and will that help reinvigorate Lake George's downtown?
I do think so. I think it's been a great program. Several of the communities that I've represented have received that funding, and it's it takes a long time to see the fruits of that grant. It's a long process, but we're going to see the benefits here soon, and I'm very happy to see Lake George receive it. I mean, the village of Lake George and the town of Lake George attract people from all over the world, and this can only provide even a better experience for everyone.